Omaha's news leader, chronicling the stories and people making a difference in our community. This is KETV News Watch 7's Chronicle.
Probably be dead because I had cancer.
He got the call, the miraculous call, and it was my turn.
She's the one that called me and said, "We got a liver," and she said, "I think it's a good match, good fit."
It is the most selfless gift, the gift of life. Today on Chronicle, we highlight the need for donors both living and after death and share the medical miracle of transplants here in the Metro. A second chance at life. It's a gift few get. But this morning on Chronicle, we're exploring how, through organ donation, you and your loved ones can be part of that blessing. I'm Rob McCartney. Thanks for joining us. According to Live On Nebraska, nearly 350 people in the state are waiting on some sort of life-saving transplant. But only just over half, 58% of eligible Nebraskans are actually registered as organ donors. For an Omaha man, his message is simple: check the box. Chronicle's Bill Shammert shares how the man's life was changed thanks to the generous gift of organ donation and the power of transplantation.
For 50 years, the sound of Scudder has skimmed across the Great Plains and around Omaha. 72-year-old Jeff Morris is the only original member left.
It's a Nebraska song. Rock with a message, not a whole lot of love songs.
But the love of 5 decades of gigs can take a toll.
Well, I jumped into my hot rod, babe, I'm gonna slam it in gear. It's a very hard life, and that's why the drinking became, it's just, you get into that. I mean, everybody's drinking, you're in a bar, how do you get other people to drink? Drink yourself.
Jeff was drinking himself to an early grave.
So don't you worry.
From rock and roll to rock bottom.
Always be by your side. I tried to hide it, I tried everything, but I just kept drinking.
In April 2021, a trip to the Veterans Hospital soon became much more.
Sure enough, that physical came back and they said, "We see a couple little spots." And it was cancer.
Liver cancer that hadn't spread, so he started treatment and got on the transplant list.
Probably be dead because I had cancer.
But a year later,
He got the call, the miraculous call, and it was my turn.
She's the one that called me and said, "We got a liver," and I asked her what she thought. She said, "I think it's a good match, good fit."
Dr. Wendy Grant has done hundreds of transplants in her more than 2 decades at Nebraska Medicine.
One organ donor can save up to 8 people's lives. 2 lungs, a heart, a liver. Sometimes that could be split. 2 kidneys, a pancreas, and intestines. So, and sometimes even 9 people can benefit from someone being an organ donor.
In April 2022, she swapped out Jeff's liver.
What I remember was his work ethic. He was like, "I'm better, and I'm going to get better, and I'm going to do everything I can to take care of this organ and make myself better."
And that's exactly what he did.
Looks like that's breakfast.
He's on nearly 50 pills to help his body accept the new liver. As for the booze, not a drop since the cancer diagnosis.
I went in and I said, "That's it." I told myself, "I'm done. There's no more drinking. Party's over."
For Scudder, the party's not over, it's just different.
Life didn't turn out quite like you dreamed.
Right now, it's fewer gigs, more recording,
You finally get home.
and a lot of reflection.
Get home. Everything that I littered on the highway, I got to clean all that up. I got to take my life and make it worth something. It's a brand new song, but I don't have it finished.
That's Bill Shammert sharing Jeff's journey. Unfortunately, not every story ends like Jeff's. To talk more about the wait list and how a national leader in transplantation is right here in our own backyard, joined by Dr. Alan Langness, a transplant surgeon for Nebraska Medicine. Doctor, thanks for being here today. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Rob. Appreciate it.
Are certain organs more in demand than others?
There's a numerical need, I guess. I think there's more people who probably require a kidney in the United States than any other organ because of the prevalence of kidney disease. So I think that's where the biggest shortage of organs is that we have to wrestle with.
So what is the wait list like now? We heard 350 people about. I mean, does that surprise you? I should ask you that, or is that normal?
So I mean, Nebraska is not a heavily populated part of the country, right?
Right.
But if you look at nationally, there's just under 90,000 people in the United States waiting for a kidney transplant. And the number could be much higher. I think we're very restrictive actually in terms of who we even let qualify to get a kidney transplant because of sort of the restrictions of and limits of organ donors.
Are there any organs that can't be transplanted?
Yeah, I mean that's kind of a setup to maybe do a bad joke like brain transplants and things like that.
Right.
But on the other hand, I think the organs that we routinely transplant obviously are heart, lungs, kidneys, livers, and less frequently intestine. I think there are people now in the United States undergoing transplants for hands, face, and things like that. We call those vascular composite allografts, so they're a little unique. And even, for our wounded warriors, we're doing penile transplants. They're being done more, with some frequency because of the horrible injuries that some of our servicemen undergo.
Interesting. And I see on Nebraska Medicine's website that, and the quote is, roughly a third of intestinal transplantation procedures performed on children around the world has been done at Nebraska Medicine. I mean, you've done intestinal transplants. Are they harder than other organs?
So the answer is a little, I guess, quote unquote, complicated in the sense that the surgery itself is, I don't want to minimize it, but it's not so hard. But the intestine is a very immunologic organ, so it puts up a big fight immunologically. So the care of these patients afterwards can be much more complex.
And you all have done a number of combined transplants, more than one organ transplanted. Why are those transplants so common?
So oftentimes, we'll see a patient who is in heart failure, have bad heart disease, and needs a heart transplant. But what goes along with that also is kidney failure. So not oftentimes, but on occasion, a patient who needs a heart transplant will also need kidney replacement therapy. And it makes a lot of sense if they're going to be on the anti-rejection medications, they can have both transplants and then they can come off dialysis as well as having a heart transplant.
Nice. How quickly does a transplant take? I mean, is the relief immediate?
Typically, but
good.
not typically. I would say, yeah, typically. I think if you get a kidney transplant and the kidney starts working right away, it's making urine literally in the operating room while you're doing it. The liver, if you put it in, somebody is literally making bile, the heart's pumping. Now that's not every case, but most cases, and of course there's exceptions to that.
Have you had to tell families, sorry, no organs available, and maybe none in the future?
Yes, I think that typically we evaluate the patient and we make sure that we think they're, within criteria, healthy enough to undergo, these are rather complex operations, and we want to make sure that there's a good likelihood that they're going to survive it all. But there's some people who are just, a little too sick and can't get on the list.
How frustrating is that? Maybe that, hey, there's no organ available for you now because the wait list is so long.
Well, that's a very real problem. I think, depending on the organ, but 10 to 15% of patients will die on the waiting list waiting for an organ. And it's like no other area in medicine that to improve somebody's health, you have to wait around for that therapy to be available.
Now, I also understand, though, that there's joy among the transplant team when it works.
For sure.
And take me inside in the operating room. Is there cheering? Is there high-fiving? What's it like?
No, I think, in the end, what I try to explain to people is that for people like me, this is our job, right? So this is what we do. So our expectation is that things should turn out well. So I think, certainly we get a real sense of contentment as professionals in the work that we do.
What gets someone off the waiting list? You mentioned criteria.
So I mean, like,
if they're not the waiting list, it's to be a donor. If they wanted to get something, can they be too sick to get a transplant?
Oh, absolutely. We have people who just get too ill, too frail, that to get through the operation and be able to leave the hospital is not possible. And for those people, we unfortunately have to deny them. Sometimes people just get too sick.
Now, Nebraska Medicine is a leader in transplants, not just for Nebraskans, but for many other people. Why is that? I mean, why do people come to Nebraska Medicine?
Well, there's a lot of reasons why, but honestly, I think it's because of the Nebraskans, right? I think that the culture we have here and the environment that is fostered is really special, and we think about it as like putting the warm Nebraska blanket on people when they come here, because they do come here from all over, not only this region but throughout the United States, and I think, and we hear about it. People articulate that to us, and I think it's real.
And I know you've been involved with some national policy or discussions as well. So I know you've helped put Nebraska on the map in this too. So I appreciate all you're doing, and also for coming in today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Well, next on KETV News Watch 7's Chronicle, his family calls his death 74 silver linings. You're going to hear how his legacy lives on through the lives he's saved. Plus, you're going to learn how you can be a living donor. We'll be right back.